You are watching the Pop Culture Network.
I have a problem with primes. It's kind of like a trouble with tribbles. It's that every time I see a prime, I feel the need to buy it and add it to my collection. And even if it's not actually a prime, like an Ultra Magnus, which is based on a prime, or one of these little guys that some other character with a different head on it, but it's the prime body, I still feel the need to add it to my collection. I just can't stop buying primes. It's my problem with primes. Which is why when the geek called me and said that he was feeling under the weather and couldn't do Formers Friday, I said, that's fine, I can do one. Because I have a couple here that I've bought and I've never had a chance to really look at or do anything with. So I've been holding on to these for a couple weeks, maybe, and just kind of waiting for the opportunity to pull them out and work on them. And, well, it looks like today's that day. So first of all, shout out to the geek. Hope you're feeling better. And second of all, hey, look, new primes. There's even an Orion Pax back in that one. So we're going to be taking a look at these different characters today. And we're going to start with this guy, the El Cheapo Prime here. Let me move this other one out of the box. El Cheapo Prime here is from Walgreens. He's, I'm not sure if he's a Walgreens exclusive or if it's just some random budget line. But looking at him, I can see that he is based off one of the cheap store primes I've bought in the past. Namely, one of these little guys. Now, it's not exactly. There are obviously some differences between them. But if you take a look, you can see the way his arm is broken down here with the wheel. It is still here on the arms there. Also, the way the legs are made with the feet sticking up like that, very much what this guy has going on there. So they didn't exactly take this one and blow it up and just call it a day with the figure, but it is very close to the way, and I'm guessing it's going to transform very much the same way, with just the head popping up, the arms folding out, the torso actually spins around to go from the snub-nosed cab to his little slender midsection, and the legs folding out with no articulation in the knees, just these flat legs. So I'm guessing it's exactly the same setup to that guy there. But like I said, I haven't had a chance to open them yet, so what do you say we do that now? I almost forgot to take a look at the back of the package, but some of you guys might actually want to see that, so I figured I should throw that in here. You can see, of course, the figure again, but then you have the transformation, which I guess I should have looked at this before because it is, in fact, the exact same time of transformation as the little guy that I was showing you a minute ago. So we'll see if anything stands out as being, incredibly different in this sculpt. I can see there's a lot more details in this picture compared to that tiny little guy that I have, but still, overall, it is very much the same type of deal here. So, the box, a little bit of artwork on the side, and then just that Transformers logo. Very plain. This says also available Bumblebee. When I was at Walgreens, I think they had a Skyfire, Jetfire, whatever he's called nowadays. I might go back and pick him up. This was expensive, actually, because it was from Walgreens. I mean, I don't remember the price. I just remember thinking, geez, that's a lot more money than I wanted to spend on a toy like this. But at the same time, I hadn't seen it anywhere else, so I decided to go ahead and grab it from there. So, open up the box here. And there you go. You can see that this is definitely a budget figure. If you buy any Transformers figures with any sort of regularity, you know that they come in a box usually with this printed background, has some technical specifications. It looks like it's colored, usually gray, sometimes purple, with Autobot Decepticon logos on it. This is not. This is just the toy hovering on this cheap cardboard and held in place by these little things. And in fact, it's funny because they wanted to save costs, so they used this cardboard And they put these things on here, these little straps to keep him from moving. But then they realized the cardboard wasn't strong enough. So there's actually a piece of plastic that's taped down to the back here to keep it from ripping through the cardboard. So you actually have this plastic reinforcement on there. It's just kind of weird overall. All right, and of course, I had my scissors just a minute ago, and I set them down to have them handy, and now I don't know where I put them. Great. So I have no scissors at the moment. All right, well, I guess we're just going to do this the old-fashioned way here. We're just going to yank these things. Now, one thing I can see that's different from those tiny little Optimus Primes is that obviously there's a lot more paint application here. They actually painted these little headlights, which are normally just left part of the plain red. And they've also added the highlights here on the leg, the silver tone. And then there's actually, is it 2 types of silver? No, I guess it's just the way. I was going to say, it looks like there were 2 types of silver down here, but it's just the way that it's angled, so it catches the light differently. It almost looks like there's 2 different tones, but there's really not. That's kind of smart on their part, I guess. So I'll pull those. And I can tell you right now, feeling this thing, it is very light and hollow. One of the problems people have with Transformers nowadays is these empty cutout areas that just make them feel cheap and hollow a lot of times. And that's what this guy has going on. The plastic used is just that, cheap modern action figure plastic, and it doesn't really feel like there's a whole lot going on with this guy. And pretty light. And again, his arm, you can see how it's cut out. All that excess plastic not being used to... supposedly it helps the environment, but it's just because they're cheap and it's to save costs. Let's be honest here. All right, so taking a look at Prime overall, though, I generally like this body type. I'm not sure about these things on the shoulders that they put on here. It's like a windbreaker that goes on top of the cab. A lot of times the guys doing long-haul trucking will have those on there. It's supposed to help with the wind resistance, creating airflow over the top. And I don't know why they incorporated it onto him. On some figures, these flaps actually move up and down. This one does not. But still, I think if you look at this guy straight on, he looks like a nice, big, bulky figure Prime. Nothing too special about him, but nothing horrible either. And my cat is meowing like crazy. Get out of here. Not your time. I'm not talking to you. Now, of course, we turn to the back, and you can see from the transformation, there's some leftover kibble here of those parts. And you can see, again, more of these hollow cutout spaces. Nothing special. The knees do not bend. There's no movement in the legs other than what's up here at that joint. The arms, you've got some ratcheting there in the elbow. And the shoulders do move. And you've got some flexing here because of the transformation of the midsection. And you do have, a little bit of twisting and whatever you can do with that, but not a whole lot. So he doesn't come with any accessories. There's no guns or swords or anything that he comes with. He is just the big plain figure. But I gotta say, if you're a kid and you get this, it is pretty durable. It does feel sturdy. It's not going to break apart like the ones that we had when we were kids that were very easy to break. This is simplified for a much younger audience, but it's also going to keep it safe. So it's not actually a bad investment for the young one that you want to get a Transformer for, because this is not one that they're probably going to break anytime soon. Okay, so transform them. Let's see here. We got to just twist these around. This comes together in here, and we just kind of shove it all together, and it turns into a Prime. Into Optimus, the way he's supposed to look. Stupid movies. In the snub nose cab. Okay. So again, I like the look of the snub nose cab instead of the long nose one. I've always, preferred that G1 style look. Although you can see it's a little funky here, the way it's open in the back. The way they did that for the arm, so that the arm, looks a little better as far as being the robot arm with the articulation, to allow this to move around a little more freely. You can see that this piece of plastic here on that edge would go right up on that joint. So they left it open, but it does, it does give that hollow look to the overall cab. So that is a little funky as far as that goes. But generally speaking, I think this looks pretty nice as the cab. From the back here, though, you can see there's a giant empty spot. You're just going to be stuck with that because of the transformation. And then the feet are just, they're always going to be feet. They're just stuck up as feet. There's no way to fold them, bend them down, put them out of the way. So his transformation to the truck, it's not perfect, but I mean, it's definitely better than some of the other ones I've seen. It's definitely better, I think, than the the movie versions of the figures. But again, it's cheap. It's meant to be a budget toy, even though, like I said, it was at Walgreens, so it was a little more expensive. But overall, I like it. I think it's a nice addition to the collection. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put it, as it's kind of big, but nonetheless, there you have that one. Okay, and here's my other new package here. This is the Transformers Tribute Optimus Prime and Orion Pack's Evolution Pack. Honestly, I didn't really know anything about this. I probably knew this was coming. There was probably some announcement like a Toy Fair in February or whatever, and completely forgot about it until a couple weeks ago, and somebody was talking about it, and I go, oh yeah, I want to order one of those, so I ordered it. Now, despite the fact that you do have movie Optimus Prime on here, these are obviously not movie versions of the characters, so yay. You do have some artwork on the top of Optimus Prime's movie eyes, but and there he is movie on the side, but we won't hold that against this pack because we do have these two versions of the evolution of Optimus Prime. The old Orion Pax version, and then that newer looking Cybertronian Optimus Prime version. And even though these are technically not, snub-nosed cab, I still, of course, like the evolution of the character here. I thought it was neat to see an Orion Pax. They just don't make a whole lot of those. Now, one thing, I'm not really sure if these are reissues of old figures. I know I've seen this before one way or another. Again, it might have been in a promotional shot, or it may be because they took parts from a different Cybertronian character and just, reworked it into an Orion Pax. I'm not exactly sure. And this, I know I've seen that look before, but I don't remember if this exact sculpt has been used before. But it's very possible that they just took two of these old, Legends of Cybertron or Transformers Universe figures, or something from a few years ago, and just kind of recolored them and threw them into a new pack. And if they did, that's fine. I'm the guy that loves redecos of figures. I'm that guy. So getting this two-pack together, I just thought it made, absolutely perfect sense to go ahead and grab this and have them because, again, having an Orion Pax is always cool. And let's face it, this looks like a Tron car. So even though it's got the red on it, it still looks like a Tron car. So anything Tron is a thumbs up. All right, so we are going to rip this open. And again, I should have looked for the scissors when I wasn't filming a minute ago. That would have been a smart thing to do, wouldn't it? But of course, I didn't do that because I'm an idiot. So I'm going to fight here with my fingers. This is exciting, isn't it? This is what you tuned in for, just to see an old fat guy fighting with the package. There we go. Ooh. Now, see, this background of the box is the type of thing... Oh, and instructions. Instructions are always good. But this background of the box is the type of thing I was talking about a minute ago when we had that one that was just plain brown. This is the type of thing that we're used to, is some sort of design on the back. It just kind of draws the eye to it. It looks cool. This, of course, Autobots, Megatron, Optimus Prime, Transformers, Decepticons, a bunch of different faces, whatever. This is the type of thing that you expect to find in the back of the package, which is how you know that other one was considered part of the budget line, even though it was... Again, I'm just going to say it cost way too much at Walgreens, but I had to buy it. So, anyway, our two figures here, Optimus Prime and Orion Pax. Let's start with Pax over here, just because we can. Because he's the one, he would come first, right? He's Pax before he's Prime. Man, I'm going to have to find something to cut that with. see a knife. If I can grab this knife, move a light out of the way. Move this light back. All right. Here we go. Cut him out, cut him out, cut him out. Oh, man. I hate these things. Why do they keep using these things? Here, I'm going to cut from the back. These things are so... I can't really cut from the back. None of them go across the back. They're all just sticking through the front. I hate these things. Why do they use them? Who cares if there's a little bit of give? I'd much rather have a second piece of plastic that's vacuum formed to the front that holds it in place, and you can just use a die-cut box and have that piece of plastic there holding them in than having to mess with all of these things every time you try to get a toy out. No bueno. And that's about all the Spanish I know. I know no bueno. I know how to swear. I'm not going to say that one. And the other one I know is to say, no habla española. And yeah, I should be saying no habla español because I'm a guy and not a girl. But I will say española just to reinforce the idea that I don't speak Spanish. All right. There is Orion Pax. And he's got... Oh, he's a headmaster. I didn't know that. But he sure is. And two things that gave it away. One, looking at him, while I was cutting him out of the package, I could see this red piece right here in the middle of the head on top, and that is that's definitely a connector joint. Of course, now I've moved the head a little bit, and you can see that the legs have pulled out, so the head doesn't quite fit on there right. But yeah, that is so he's new. He is a Titan's return. Now, like I said, he might be another figure. This might be like a cup or Blur or somebody that they just change some of the pieces around, but reuse the main body of in order to make this Orion Pax. But the other thing that gave it away was the guns. And as soon as I started pulling out these guns, you could see that they fit together to make one of these little headmaster ships for the little guy. You can see that his legs are going to fit in there for him to fly around and do his whatnots. So maybe, in fact, when you transform Orion Pax, he the gun attaches somehow to the body of it. But taking a look at the figure, this definitely feels much better. This is a different plastic, you can tell, from the other figure. It feels softer, I guess. It's not as brittle as the other one feels. It's also smoother. The other one had like these ratcheted joints on here, whereas these are made, for more posability, to move them around just the right way. We do have, legs move, twist, arms move, bend. Hands don't twist, but because they transform. It looks like they fold. Yeah. All right. I do like this translucent chest piece. That's cool. Obviously a windshield, and there's front piece to it that folds in there. And then the back, though, yeah, you can see that's where the problems start to come out in the modern Transformer look. You've got this giant joint right in there. You can see that little plug, and then these giant hollow spaces. Honestly, if you filled that in with some sort of maybe some putty or something, that would actually go a long way to helping the look, because overall the rest of it looks pretty good. I mean, the rest of it's not hollowed out that way. And I love these chunky legs, these big boots. These are some booty kicking feet right there. You can see how big they are. But nonetheless, that's a pretty nice looking figure, I gotta say. Just having this version of him, he doesn't quite have that Optimus Prime type look. It definitely, he could pass for somebody else, which is why I'm wondering if it's reusing the body. But it still has that red and blue, and it is one of those where, like, there's a GoBot who's red and blue. If I can find him, yeah, here he is on my Prime shelf. There's this guy, I forget what his name is, Long Haul or something. I keep him on the Prime shelf, even though he's obviously not a Prime. He's just a blue and red truck. But you can see that same, blue and red type look makes him fit into the idea of having a Prime, and he's obviously going to fit on my shelf along with a guy like this. So that's no problem as far as my collection is concerned. And you can put the guns in his hands. That's what they're made for. Both the guns and the hands. They're just made to go together. And woo! We're doing yeehaw! Whoop pew! Pew pew pew! Into the sky. We're celebrating. Yay. Okay. Let's pop this guy off and take a look at him real quick. And of course, there was no name for him on the box, I don't think. Let me look at these instructions here. Is there any name? Who is this guy supposed to be? Just says Orion Pax on the instructions. Titan Master Figure. That's all it says. Titan Master Figure. There's no actual name for this Titan Master Figure. It's just, just exists. He is there. So I guess, you can name him whatever you want. What was this guy's name? Is this guy named Long Haul? Was that his name? Because that's who this guy will be. He's the GoBot that became a Transformer. That's going to be his story. So after the GoBot race was destroyed in the Great War with the rock creatures, the few who remained were absorbed into the Transformer universe, and he became a headmaster for Orion Pax. So there you go. You can work that in. Okay, so now I'm going to transform him. And, well, here, let's just do this. Alright, there we go. Transformed. The magic of doing things on camera. And, yeah, it rolls pretty good. And it's got a pretty neat little look for being the Cybertronian pre-Prime version. It does have these wheels that are very reminiscent of the Fisher-Price line, the Rescue Bots versions of the figures. But it's, just cheap and easy to put them on that way. And you can see here, the bottom basically looks like the body. I mean, it's pretty clear from that point of view. But otherwise, this gets a little bit funky because of all the pieces fitting together and how it makes some hollow, empty areas. But overall, I think the look of this is actually pretty cool. It's just a neat idea overall. Now, as far as our unnamed Titan Master here and these guns, when you've got them in this mode, these of course can fit back here as if they're going to be gun turrets. They can also fit on the side here as if they're going to shoot forward or shoot back. It's really up to you, or like I said, you can piece them together and make a little flying ship. But this guy, he has a couple different ways you can use him. One, there are foot pegs all over the back of Orion Pax here. So him, his best friend, his wife, even his girlfriend can all fit on here. There's pegs for everybody. One of the things it shows even is to put the guns back here and then have him, standing back here as if he's, a gun operator, using the gun on the back, shooting at guys while they're driving down the road, and of course spot for another one right there. I don't know if they don't really sell loose heads. I mean, they do sell those tiny guys that transform, the ones that turn into like the dinosaurs and whatever, which you could use the extra head from those, I guess, if you wanted to do it, but then they transform into their thing. So I'm waiting for a pack of just heads. I just want a pack of heads, no other pieces to them, just to use on some of these figures. But anyway, the other way to use him is to fold him up and put him in the cockpit here, and he actually fits. You can actually close the lid on him there, and he can hang out, and that is pretty cool. I actually like that look quite a bit. I just always like when the figure can work itself into the actual use of the vehicle mode. I just think that's always a nice touch on there. So that looks pretty good. I like that. I like the guns there. Like I said, you can put them on the side, and I don't know, for some people they might want to display them that way. Maybe it looks better as far as they're concerned for it, going into battle. But to me, it just makes more sense that it be one of those type of trucks with the guns in the back. Now, the one thing that's weird about this figure, doesn't seem to work quite right, is this area back here. the bed of the truck. These pieces are supposed to tab together here and here, and then you've got these foot pieces that fold up almost like a tailgate, and they have their own tabs where they come together. And I can't get the tabs to... These tabs here don't want to stick together if these tabs here are stuck together and folded up. Once you push this into place, it pulls these tabs apart up here. And if you try to push this one together, then the force of it is going to start to push against the tail here, and it makes these start to pop apart. So that is a little funky. It may just be, from sitting in the package the way they have it with all those rubber band things holding it down. Maybe it just needs to be, kept in this position for a while in order to kind of bend it into a place where it's going to work a little better. But like I said, overall, I like the look, although when I display it, I'm probably going to put him in robot mode just for the fact that it's an Orion PAX, and I want to be able to see the robot version of him. I think that looks pretty nice. But yeah, that's still a cool idea. It works. It looks pretty neat. It's got the colors in the right place. They even have these extra logos. That's actually the back of the shoulder when he's in robot mode. Comes down on the side of the cab here. I think that looks pretty cool. So yeah, he's a good guy overall. All right, so then there's that Optimus Prime, the other one that came in the package. And I set it on top. There it is. And this is the one that looks kind of like a Tron vehicle. And this, I gotta say that this is a reissue of one. It so reminds me of another one that came out years ago that I have no idea where that one... I used to have one, and I think I lost it. Probably when my basement flooded several years ago. And, I hate this. Hasbro, why you do this? Alright, and his gun. The gun. Ah! Stupid. Oh my gosh. Alright, get rid of this thing. Now I've got these little plastic pieces all over the place. Not a real big fan of those. Put the knife away so I don't hurt myself. And here is this Cybertronian Optimus Prime version. And he does look kind of funky. There's a lot of moving pieces on this figure. There's a lot of stuff to rotate, move around. And as I'm trying to, just kind of straighten him out to stand him up, I feel everything shifting and moving underneath him. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm sure it's gonna be real fun to try to figure out how to transform him. Now, his gun here is kind of funky. It's got that like side clip look to it, like an old World War II rifle, and it's got a fold up here, and it's got a fold up here. So this the handle piece folds, and this clip piece folds. So it obviously serves some sort of double duty somewhere. I just said duty, and I'm not sure exactly how, because this doesn't look like anything. And it sure does want to spring back. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly this does. Oh, well, that was okay. So that holds it in place like that. Okay, well, that's a thing. That's sure is. All right, so let's look at this figure. Figure looks pretty neat. Again, I like the Tron accents that it has on it. And looking at it straight forward like this, you do see that it is an Optimus Prime. The ears on his head are kind of tall, like a manga Batman figure. Kind of funky looking, although I like the joint, the way that it's able to move the head around and do a lot of different looks there. But the body part, the overall look of being an Optimus Prime is there, even though these wheels are kind of funky. But the legs still have that basic look that we've come to know with having a Prime. Looking at the back, actually, it's all right. You don't have any of those big cutout areas like we've come to expect on these Hasbro figures, which is another reason why I think it's probably a reissue of an older one, because if it was done today, you'd probably have hollowed out areas all over it that you don't have on this one. I don't know, maybe it's new. I'm not sure, but actually, it's kind of growing on me. This still looks weird. Because this almost looks like, oh man, what's that character? Windblade? I think that they created in the comics, the female one. It almost has the look that she has to it. But if I could find, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll fold these back like that. I think that looks better. Folding them, kind of moving them out of the way. That looks pretty cool, actually. Let me put the gun in his hand here and take a look. If I can, it doesn't want to push down very far. Get in there. Get in there. That's weird. It's like it doesn't want to fit down in his hand. Like, where else is it supposed to go? Let me try the other hand here. Nope. Oh, if you push, okay, you got to push really hard. Man, I got it to go in this side if I push really hard, but on this side it just doesn't. There we go. Maybe you have to just line it up just right. Now, again, moving him around has moved everything in the shoulders and arms here, and like I said, you can feel that there's a lot of moving parts to this. And I'm trying to figure out how exactly, because you can see there's an Autobot symbol on his arm here. And in order for it to, be lined upright, you got to fold it down like this, but doing so kind of seems to give him these tiny little baby arms. So I'm not sure. It makes this part really wide and this part seem really short. I don't know. It's a little funky. One way or another, though, I do like the overall look of it. I do like the overall look that he has of that kind of classic G1 body, but with a little bit more going on to it. And again, I like the bright blue. That adds some nice pop to the figure. But let's go ahead and transform him. And here it is, finally transformed. And let me just say, this was a lot more difficult and doesn't work quite as well. For one thing, there's a lot of stuff that's supposed to tab together and just kind of fall into place, and it kind of doesn't. You really have to fight with it and twist things and try to get two things to snap together at the same time in different spots in order to make it fit. And so it's really kind of difficult to get it to all fit together the way it's supposed to. Now, the actual look of it, I think is pretty neat. The way it's been designed, as you can see, that the actual chest piece that has the cab windows is inset into, I don't know, you don't want to call it the grill, but into the face of it. And so it's kind of buried within with like this outer layer coming around on it. It makes a neat effect to the overall look of the piece, that is the spot on the inside. And when you live on a planet of moving vehicles that don't need people to ride in them unless they're, a headmaster or whatever, it just allows you to do something kind of weird like that. So I think it's a neat look. Overall, you're kind of bad looking at it from the back because of the leftover pieces and, of course, the bottom. Hey, look, there's a face. But, overall, the general idea of it and the general look I like. But the execution of trying to get this guy to get all these pieces to fit together at the same time, it's just not pretty. It doesn't fit the way it's supposed to. Now his gun thing, there's the figure, and we'll kind of move down on him a little bit. The gun thing is actually supposed to fit on his back, and the way it's designed is the way it folds up is you can actually, apparently when he's in robot mode, you can stick it on his back and put it out of the way if you don't want him to be using the weapon at the time. And so there's a little spot that it can tab in back there. But then as far as here in vehicle mode, you fold it like that, and you just kind of stick it in that hole. That's what she said. And that's it. Like, that's kind of crummy. And it doesn't quite fit as well. Actually, you know what? Can it go this way, maybe? Okay, that looks, I think, a little better to the overall look. But, of course, in doing so, again, this side popped out. Trying to get these pieces. Part of the problem is you have the hand in here, and there's a slot on the hand where a tab on the blue part is supposed to go down. And I don't know if you can see it at all in there, but that's supposed to fit in there, which would make this part flush. But at the same time, there's a hook that's supposed to hook here, and another hook that hooks up here to hold it into place. So you can't really get like the hand piece where you want it to slide that in, because you're trying to get this hook in here and trying to line up with that. So you can either get these two hooked, and then you've got this spot where it doesn't quite tab into place, or you can tab it into place and not have those hook up, and these other parts don't quite push together. So it's a neat idea as far as that Cybertronian Prime as a truck, and maybe I'll sit here and fight with it a little bit more and see if I can, piece it together, because I do think it's a neat idea, although that just looks bad. There's got to be some better place to stick that here in this mode, although I don't really see one. But this is one of those figures where, because so much of it tabs together into these pieces, which is supposed to make it, overall fit better, as soon as one of those tabs doesn't quite fit right, the whole thing fights itself and tries to fall apart. And I really wish there was some place in here I could just stash this gun and forget about it. But it's not really going to work out to that. So the best you're going to have is to stick it on there, and that just looks kind of weird on there. It doesn't really fit right. So as far as this version of Prime, again, I like the idea. I like the idea of the look of the truck, but the execution just does not work. He is definitely one that will stick in robot mode as far as being displayed. So there's that guy, and then there's the Orion packs. I'm actually really impressed with this guy, especially because he's a headmaster. I didn't realize that. That makes him cooler than I thought. And then this El Cheapo guy that we started with, still pretty neat. Even as run down as it is with that basic style, it's still all right. Although again, he's going to be in robot mode when he's displayed, not cab mode probably. Although I'm going to have to find space on the shelf for him. That's of course my biggest problem, is coming over here and then just trying to figure out where I can stick. I mean, there's got to be a spot where I don't really see a place where I can. Done. All right. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Formers Friday. Don't forget to check out the rest of PopCultureNetwork.com. See other great stuff we've got going on. We've got several Masters of the Universe podcasts. We have the Beyond Retro podcast. We've got, of course, this show, Formers Friday. We've got some other stuff in the pipeline that may be coming soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.